When we think of history, we often think of it as a collection of facts and dates, a record of the past that we can look back on and learn from. But history is much more than that. It's a weapon that can be used to shape our understanding of the world and ourselves. Throughout history, we have seen examples of how history can be used as a tool of oppression. Colonizers, for example, have often distorted indigenous histories in order to justify their actions and maintain their power. This has been seen throughout the world, from the colonization of the Americas to the colonization of Africa and Asia. Colonizers often presented their actions as a benevolent mission to civilize and Christianize indigenous peoples, while downplaying or denying the violence, exploitation, and oppression that accompanied these efforts. But history can also be a means of resistance and liberation. The civil rights movement in the United States is a powerful example of how reclaiming and embracing one's own history can be a powerful force for change. The civil rights movement was fueled in large part by African Americans reclaiming and celebrating their own history, culture, and identity, and using this as a foundation for their struggle for equality and justice. The narrative of history plays a significant role in shaping our understanding of the world and ourselves. The way history is taught and written can reinforce dominant narratives and perspectives, leaving out the histories of marginalized groups. This can have a lasting impact on our understanding of the world and our place in it. If we are only exposed to a narrow and distorted version of history, it can limit our understanding of the world and our place in it. It can also reinforce harmful stereotypes and prejudices, and perpetuate the marginalization and oppression of certain groups. In contemporary society, we are seeing the weaponization of history and narrative in numerous ways. Social media and propaganda are being used to spread false narratives and manipulate public opinion. One example of this is the proliferation of fake news and misinformation on social media platforms. This can range from conspiracy theories to outright fabrications, and it can be difficult for the average person to discern what is true and what is false. History and historical events are also being manipulated to further political agendas. This can include the selective use of historical events or figures to justify certain policies or actions, or the distortion of historical events to fit a particular narrative or ideology. We have seen this in the way that certain governments or political groups have used history to further their agendas, often at the expense of historical accuracy and the truth. Conspiracy theories are another example of the weaponization of history and narrative. These theories often involve the distortion or manipulation of historical events in order to further a particular agenda or belief. Conspiracy theories can be particularly dangerous because they can sow division and mistrust, and can be used to justify harmful actions or policies. The manipulation of history and historical events to justify discriminatory policies and actions is another example of how history can be weaponized. We have seen this throughout history, from the use of pseudoscientific theories of racial superiority to justify colonialism and slavery, to the use of history to justify discriminatory policies against marginalized groups today. Who rewrites history and why? Governments and political groups may seek to rewrite history in order to further their agendas. Interest groups may seek to protect their power and privilege by rewriting history. And individuals may have personal or ideological motivations for rewriting history. So how can we identify and combat the weaponization of history and narrative, and deal with their impact? It's important to develop critical thinking skills and fact-check information. This means seeking out multiple sources and considering the credibility and motivations of those sources. It's also important to be aware of our own biases and to approach information with an open and questioning mindset. Diverse and inclusive historical narratives are valuable in providing a more accurate and complete understanding of the past. Responsible and ethical media literacy is also crucial in navigating the overwhelming amount of information available to us. We can identify and combat misinformation and propaganda by seeking out multiple sources and considering the credibility and motivations of the sources. But the impact of weaponized history goes beyond just the spread of false information. It's also important to acknowledge and process the emotional impact of distorted or traumatic histories. History has the power to shape our sense of identity and belonging, and when that history is distorted or erased, the emotional impact of distorted or traumatic histories. History has the power to shape our sense of identity and belonging, and when that history is distorted or erased, it can have a lasting impact on our sense of self and our place in the world. This can be particularly true for marginalized groups who have experienced trauma or oppression as a result of historical events. It's important to recognize and acknowledge this impact, and to seek out accurate and inclusive information as a means of healing and moving forward. So how can we move forward and heal from the impact of weaponized history? Seeking out accurate and inclusive information is an important step, as is seeking support from trusted sources. This can include seeking out support from therapists, community leaders, or other trusted individuals. It's also important to create space for open and honest conversations about history and its impact, and to work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable society. One way we can do this is by supporting organizations and initiatives that work towards creating a more accurate and inclusive historical narrative. This can include supporting museums and educational institutions that are committed to telling a more complete and nuanced history, as well as supporting community-based organizations that work towards preserving and sharing the histories of marginalized groups. Another way we can combat the weaponization of history is by being active and engaged citizens. This can include speaking out against misinformation and propaganda, and supporting media outlets and organizations that are committed to accurate and responsible reporting. We can also engage in discussions about history and its impact, and work towards creating a more informed and understanding society. The weaponization of history is a dangerous and insidious tool that can distort our understanding of the world and ourselves. It's important that we take action to counteract these efforts by being vigilant and proactive in seeking out accurate and responsible information. Let's work towards a more informed and understanding society, and create a future that is grounded in truth and justice. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest content. You can also join the conversation in the comments section. Your feedback helps us to create better content in the future. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.